Peru, you kind of hide your stupidity, right? Kind of slow learning. 秘鲁, right? What's in Confucius saying? 生也鲁. Have you heard of this? Zhenshen, not very smart. No, I think he was smart, but anyway. So, the reason I picked this one is because Peru, we have Peru, okay? Now, we all have Zulu in the news. Okay, where is Zulu place? Xu Zhenqi, do you know Zulu? This country's president is also with Z-U-M-A, Zuma. Zuma from Zulu. From, okay, I'll give you Zhu, Ma, right? Ancestor is a horse. Or ancestor is stupid, right? So, still you don't get anyone? Zulu? From which country? Yes? Africa. But Africa is a continent. It's not a country. Which country? South Africa. Okay? South Africa President Jacob Zuma. Something happened to him. A week ago, he was facing a no confidence vote. Okay, he survived. No confidence vote. What do you mean by no confidence? It means we don't trust you as our leader anymore. Now, why would someone not trusting their president? You know, the Congress, the Parliament of South Africa voted, said, we don't trust you, okay, but didn't get enough support. But at least they had a vote. The reason is he is a polygamist. What is a polygamist? Polygamy means he has more than one wife. He has 3 wives. He's just engaged to his 4th one. But it's okay in South Africa among the Zulu culture. Zulu culture allow you to have more than 1 wife. So he has 4. 3, he used to have 5, but 1 divorced, 1 died. So he has 3 right now, engaged to a 4th one. But that's fine. That's acceptable in Zulu culture. But the big problem is, right before his engagement, he had fathered another son with another woman. Okay? So, he is the one who also talk about need to be very careful with condom. South Africa has a high, what kind of problem? HIV, AIDS. Okay? So this president, one time when he was vice president, he was accused of raping a woman. Okay? And he also has a very strange knowledge about HIV/AIDS. He said, in order to make sure I don't catch, because the woman he raped had HIV, is HIV positive. So he said, afterward I just took a shower. I mean, I don't know whether, you're sophisticated enough to know whether that shower will help, but this is Zulu, okay? Zulu culture, Zuma president having problem in South Africa. Okay, why I want to bring out this is because you have tradition versus modern society. Okay, And this is very obvious here. You have some problem. Because people are asking him, when you have 3 wives or 4 wives, do you still believe in the equality of gender? Women are equal to men when you have 4 wives? Okay, so those are the questions. Now, some of you have done this. What are this? One of the 25 questions I gave you, Nauru, Palau, and Tuvalu. Well, you know, we have a great day with all the woo. Ooh, ooh, ooh. These are the 3 countries out of the 6 countries. Our president is visiting. Where is our president now? Nobody pay attention. Where is our president? He is in the presidential office. No, he went out. He left the country. Where is he? In China? No, he cannot go to China. United States? No, he cannot visit United States. He can have stopover at the United States, in the United States. So where is our president? Nobody cares. Okay, I'm going to write something to the presidential office. Where is he? You know, in which part of the world? Where is my other map? I thought I have another map. Yeah, okay. You can put it there now. Where's the other, you know, nobody pay attention. Okay. I think that's pretty sad for our president. Obviously, I think the real problem is the country he's visiting is not even on this map. Okay, I think that's pretty sad. Huh? Latin America, he has visited 4 times already. Asia, we don't have any diplomatic ally at all. We don't have any diplomatic ally in Asia. So he cannot go to visit. Europe, we have 1 ally, Vatican, but he's not going to visit. Africa, we have 4 allies, so he might visit by the end of the year. So where is he now? North Pole. 北极吗? Where is our president? You don't care. Is he being assassinated? No? Where is he? He's not in the presidential office. He's not in Taiwan. He's visiting Pacific Islands. Okay, all these 3, I thought you, at least, did you get this one right? All these are Pacific Island countries. Nauru, Palau, Tuvalu. Now, adding the other 3, then you will have all the Kiribatis, Marshall Island, and then Solomon Island. Okay, so just remember, we have 6 diplomatic allies in the Pacific Island, and our president is going to visit 6 of them in 6 days. God bless Taiwan, we have a young president. No, I mean, he's not young, but at least he can survive the trip. Okay, somewhere there. Any question on this? Nauru, Palau, Vanuatu. Did you get this one right? Okay, Pacific Island, that's where he is visiting. Okay, enough of this. Going back to, you know, this dichotomy of tradition versus modernity, and especially in the civil society. So you have to have an idea. Tradition versus modernity. Okay. Now, a lot of time people would say, what is a traditional society? You remember those 5 stages, right? From traditional society into a modern society. You go through those 5 stages. So my question here, first one, is what took place, okay, between a traditional society and a modern society? What's the difference? First thing people would say is industrialization. Now, think about this. Can we have an industrialized society that is not modern, or can we have a agriculture society that is modern? Agriculture is supposed to be more traditional, backward. Industrialization is supposed to be more advanced. So, what do we have here? Qiu Wanchen. Yeah. Can you think of a country that is not modern, but it's industrialized? China. Is China? Okay, China is industrialized. Or is it industrializing? Which one? Industrializing. So I don't think China has reached to, it's modern in the coastal area, but there's still a big contrast. When we talk about a modern society, I think we have to cover not just we call enclave. Remember that word, enclave, from last week. Anyone remember enclave? Okay, enclave. Enclave is like little pocket. Okay, little pocket of industrialization of modern society. So China, like Beijing, Shanghai, we call modern society. But you go to Anhui, you go to Henan, some of the places very backward, right? But when we talk about a modern society, almost everything is brought up to date. Okay, so industrialization is one factor, but I think people are re-examining this factor, saying only industrialization, that does not make a modern society. So, but still, there's one indicator. The other indicator is you have, we call the widespread of education. Okay, traditional society, very few people have education, have access, we call, you can have education. Modern society, most of the time, today, how many years of free education? 6, at least 6 years, right? Taiwan, how many years? 9? I thought we have 12, no? No, we have 16. Everyone is going to the university in Taiwan. No? Okay, we have 9. Okay, sometime we will become having 12. Okay, other country will have 10, 12, depending. But at least every country is having 6th grade, 6 years of free education, not free, but compulsory education. So some countries are doing well in terms of education, but still not very considered to be modern. Okay, but they do have that high rate of literacy. So that's second one. The third one, okay, this one is the one I have the biggest problem. We call urbanization. Okay, so what do we mean by urbanization? 欧繁度，在不在？张纯生。Yeah, what is urbanization? Okay, now, is that really an indicator of modern society? You think so? So what happened like a country like India, they have mega cities, right? You say, oh, urbanization, good. But how about New Zealand? A lot of people living in the countryside. So that's the one I have problem, because in the third world, the urbanization becoming, a lot of third world big cities become slums. right? Becoming big problem like Nigeria's Lagos is a big problem. It's just having both modern sector and very, ghettos together. So I'm not sure about the urbanization right now. I think today it will be more like what do we call suburbanization. People moving to the suburb. The more people living in the suburb instead of the heartland of the city. Okay? So that's one. And then people also talk about mass communication. It means, if you have, but right now this idea of mass communication, it can be also challenged. Why? Kang Yuhong, Yang Jingxiang. Yeah. Why mass communication can also be challenged? Used to be, people would say, hey, how many telephone, you have in this society? That will represent some kind of progress. I'm a victim of these telephone things. Because my father bought a huge stock from the Thailand telephone company. Traditionally what happened, if you want to install a telephone, it's very difficult to find a line. You have to pay, you have to bribe in order to get a phone line, to do business. And then people invented the, this, cellular phone, right? You don't need to set up all this telephone line. So suddenly, nobody needs regular phone. Everybody having cellular phone. So in Africa, you go everywhere, people use cellular phone. You say, wow, everybody has access to communication line. But that doesn't mean modernization. Okay, before in Taiwan, I'm not sure how, you grew up. When I grew up, I remember I was so excited the first day we got telephone when I was I think was a 5th grader or 6th grader. I don't remember. And at the time, you know how much it cost you to install a telephone? This is 40 years ago. $12,000. $12,000 to install a telephone. Okay, so that is status. You will, people will call you and say, can you go to the next door neighbor to find someone, to pick up the phone. 20 years ago in China, if you want to call your relative in Beijing, you make a phone call, the whole street will know that so-and-so has a relative in Taiwan. And sometimes you have to call the number and then, the person and say, would you get my uncle to answer the phone? I will call back 5 minutes later. So they hurry to find the uncle. And then he's waiting there, like pick up the phone, right? So nowadays, we don't have that. Mass communication is no longer an indicator. So my question for you today is, what constitutes a, thing that you can talk about a society that has become modern today? Zheng Yihan. Yeah. What constitutes a modern society today, in your view? Media? What does that mean, media? Access to media. Okay. But I think, what kind of media you're talking about? People have, in any place, will have access to media, to newspaper, or you're talking about television station, or radio. Which one you're talking about? Before, that's true. Also, but not television or radio, it's not just media. They are also entertainment as well. So in the past, people also figure out like how many television per household. Do we do that anymore? Like, figure out, I mean, how many of you in your household, you only have one television set? Raise your hand, please. One? Okay, how many of you don't have a television set? I don't think that's going to happen. But most of you have two, right? How many two? With two television sets? Or one in each bedroom? So, used to be that's an indicator like how many household will have television. That's compared to the or radio. Not anymore. I mean, radio, so cheap. I mean, again, my Sony radio cassette player, 30 years ago. How much is it? 6,000 Taiwanese dollar. 30 years ago. Okay. A Japanese-made Sony cassette radio player, radio and cassette player. Okay. And now it's what, 600? So those are not good. So you're talking about media, access to media. I think that's the case. Okay, I would say access to media, but whether that media is controlled or not, that's another issue. Okay, so that's good. What else can we say about a modern society? Wang Weifu. Yeah. Can you think of anything that really can tell? Internet. Okay. Users, especially. So, which country is the most modernized country in the world? No. South Korea. South Korea has the highest usage of internet per person. Okay? I can tell you one thing. You go to the United States, a lot of people don't use cellular phone at all. You know, in terms, so I don't think we should try to say cellular phone is the indicator. I don't like, but internet access, at least South Korea is pretty modernized, right? So there are other things today. Just want to show you this dichotomy, but then we want to go back to the last week we mentioned a little bit about this, but I want to talk about more of this patron-client. Okay. Now, traditional society and modern society, people said the biggest difference in traditional society, people said, it is who you are make most important sense than what you are. Okay, what does that mean? Who you are versus what you are in modern society. Tang Xiaolan, yeah, what does that mean? Who you are and what you are. That's the distinction between a traditional society and a modern society. Who you are, what does that mean, who you are? Who you are basically talking about what kind of family background you have. You know, who you are the son of, you are the daughter of so and so. Okay, traditional society, that will help you to decide what you can have. But modern society is what you are. You know, what kind of achievement you have done. Of course, you know, that's idealistic, I think. Sometimes who you are still matters, right? But in a truly modern society, that what you are is more important. You go, for example, you go to a job interview. If you don't know any word, you know, if you cannot read, but you say, hey, I'm married to Ma Ying-jeou's daughter. Give me this job. They said, well, but you cannot read. But I'm Ma Ying-jeou's son-in-law. I don't think that's going to work. Okay? So that's where who you are and what you are is the dichotomy now between tradition and modern. If that's the case, why do we need this patron-client relations? People said, at least the dependency theory said it's always something being left in the third world by the colonial power. Patron, what is a patron? Patron is like the little boss who take care of you. Okay, client is someone who receive help from the patron, but the client also show their loyalty and support to the patron. Okay, this is not based on traditional kind of like blood relations. Okay, of course, patron-client. For example, I took care of my son, and my son helped you, but that's my son support me, but that's not patron-client. A real patron-client in the third world today we're talking about is a politician, a businessman who reward something to their client, and in return the client will help to mobilize votes supporting them. So a good example in Taiwan, what do we call that? Patron and client. Who are the clients in Taiwan? Tiaka. Okay, that you take care of them, and they will mobilize people to support you. Okay, we will take a break and come back to look at this patron-client relation. Very important. Something that they all start with a alphabet B. Already told you that. Okay, but there are other things in common. Egypt, Eritrea, and Ethiopia have something in common as well. More than just, okay, you said, well, they're all from Africa, that's fine. But there's more than that, okay? So you have to think about it a little bit. Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, and Equatorial Guinea. You said, well, you can find 最大公约数 Guinea in there, but that's more than that, okay? So try to come up with as much common features as possible. What else? I think this one, right? So Nauru, Palau, and Tuvalu, what do they have common? In addition to being countries' name ending with a U, at least you can add right now, what is it? They are in Pacific Islands, right? Okay, so remember that one. But more than that, I think. Okay, so 5 of you try to put those together so you share the same grade for this one. And then we will have you to report on your findings. Any question on this one? May 11? This is a little bit like 百万小学堂, huh? By the way, they also invite me, to go on that show. But I don't think I want to embarrass myself. So they said, wow, you know a lot about international. Yeah. And then, I think I will flunk the first one. Especially if I pick the easiest one, like, I think English would be easy. I may flunk in English. So that's why I don't want to go. Okay, 这个怎么关掉? So patron-client. Now, you have some idea. The client, in other words, is what? Huh? What do we mean by running dogs? What do we mean by running dogs? 叶子鱼 Yeah, what do we mean by running dogs? 走狗 But it says running. It's not saying walking dog. Must be Hong Kong people's translation. I mean, Cantonese, they don't have run. They only have walk, right? If they 跑 they say 快啲行 快点走就是跑 So maybe I'm not sure. Maybe it's from there. So running dog is one. But in a mafia society, so what is it in a mafia society? A crime, 吴德昌. Yeah, you understand mafia society? Mafia, M-A-F-I-A. What is a mafia? Underground society. Black society. I don't think we use that word, black society. What is it?黑社会. Okay. What the boss is the 老大, right? So the client is what? Lolo. Okay, here I want to ask you, there is some problem here. Again, why are we calling our cellular phone 大哥大? Because you know what? 大哥 never really listen to the cell. It's the 小弟, right? Oh. Right? So we should say 小弟小. Why are we saying 大哥大? I'm not sure. We have some problem of understanding how cellular phone is being used in a underground society. But so you understand patron. Patron is the one who will take care of you. Take care of 会照你 making sure nobody will take advantage of you, but you are going to show your support. Okay? Some people call this patron-client relations. They call it clientelism. In Chinese, we translate as this. Okay? Something like that. So this is Taiwan, in that sense, it's very much like a third world country, right? Every one of our congressmen or legislator or parliamentarian, 中文叫什么？立法委员, right? They have their clients, like 市议员 or 县议员 will be their clients. And then every client, 县议员 will have their 乡镇代表 as their clients. So you have a network of this clientelism. You would deliver certain things, but then they will help you to mobilize votes and get you elected as well. So this is we call mutually beneficial relations. You scratch my back, I scratch yours, but in a way I am taking care of you, right? So this means you don't have to depend on who you are anymore. Okay, because you don't have to depend on, according to the textbook, we call kingship. Kingship means your bloodline. If you can find a patron to take care of you, then you will be fine. Okay? So it's one way of, we call, going or stepping outside of your own family or clan. Okay, your own clan. Then becoming part of this, we call, in Taiwan, probably we have a lot of faction in Taiwan. 地方派系. That's also, 地方派系, people always say, hey, 林派, but somehow the guy last name is Chen, right? But he's 林派的. That's what we call patron client. Okay? 林派 doesn't necessarily have to have the last name of Lin, but if you develop that loyalty, so patron client in the third world, and people said that's how the third world operate. Okay, and this is almost like the first world, the colonial power. When they rule, they run the show, they will identify a certain person to serve them, and then they reward them, help them. So that's the patron client before, the colonial masters and their followers. And then when they left, the local politicians just pick up this. Okay, that's how dependency theory, people said, look at this, how the third world being inheriting, taking over what's being left by the colonist. And that's a bad thing. You need to cut off that so you will have something better than this. But the big question here is, in the first world, you also have patron-client relation as well. Okay? Even, I'm sorry, I have to say, in the academic circle, we have patron-client. You as a graduate assistant, later, you have a PhD student in Tsinghua University. You have to do certain works for your professors, and your professor will say, okay, I'll help you find job, I will help you to get your work published, but also maybe under his name first. Or so that's 派阀派学派. That's all patron client. So it's not just in the third world, in the first world as well. This also developed originally from the United States when new immigrants go into the United States and they don't have the language. Like, how many of you have watched the movie Godfather? Long time ago. Okay, Godfather is a typical patron client. You respect me, you call me, Godfather, I'll take care of you. Patron client also means if you support me, like in Taiwan right now, we have a lot of flooding, we have a lot of mudsliding. If you have good connection, your neighborhood will be the first one to be clean. That's a good connection, right? So it's in China, what do we call this? Last week we said, what is it? You forgot already? Huh? Remember that? We are interacting with China more frequent than before. I am not a good person on China. Even that, I have to learn all these things. Right? Like 有关系就没关系，没关系就有关系. You have to know all that. So that's the third world. But the first world, do we see that as well? Yes, we also see that. Do they have this we call patron-client relations, and then gradually developing according to the book? There is another word. Okay, I'm not sure whether you patrimonialism. It's in the book somewhere. Okay, if you find that word, what does that mean? Patrimonialism. 吴伯庆，在不在？周志勋。Yeah, what is patrimonialism? If you can find your dictionary, would that help you? It's in the book. It's in the chapter 2. Anyone? It's like I share with you about some of the African leaders, like countries like Many Brothers. Remember that country? Where is that country? I'm not going to tell you. Okay, how about this one? Gabon. Gabon, the president who ruled from 1967 to 2009, he died after 42 years. Omar Bongo. And now his son became the new president. So what do we call that? Almost like, hereditary. Pass to your son, pass to your, inner circle. 一个世袭制度. So you develop your little circle and then continue within that circle. This is what patrimonialism in the third world. So we begin to see a lot of this in the third world. And one other thing in the third world I think people want to talk about is, again, we use a lot of dichotomy, right? We have tradition versus modernity. We also have civil society versus state. And last week we talked about the difference. Like in the first world, you have strong states, you have strong civil society. But in other countries, you might have strong state, but weak civil society. But in a lot of third world, you have both weak states and weak civil society. Now, civil society, what are some of the examples of civil society again? Chiu Bokai. Civil society. What would be, something we said this is a part of the civil society. 公民社会. We know government is not, right? So what's the other one? Okay, non-government. Can you give me something that is civil society in Taiwan? Most of the time, people will say interest groups. But what do we mean by interest group being civil society? What is interest group? 利益团体. Give me an example. Today's news. Anybody read today's news? We have the 6 biggest industrial business groups. 6大工商团体. What did they do? They said we want to have Lin Zhiling as our spokesperson. No. What did they do? Anybody? You read today's news? They complain about what? About health care, about what they have to pay into, for their workers' insurance, right? So, interest groups. You have industrial, business, professional groups, like what would be other groups that is against our healthcare system right now? What other interest group may not be very happy right now? We call the pharmaceutical companies, pharmaceutical groups. 药商, they're not very happy with our system sometimes, right? And the doctors themselves also an interest group. So there are a lot of interest groups. This is kind of like society versus government. Okay, so we have an interest group. What else can we say it is part of the civil society in addition to interest group? 张佩琪，在吗？ Yeah. What is another one that is different outside the government, but it's also part of the society that can challenge the government's policy? Media. Okay, media always, right? Media is considered part of the civil society. Media is independent of the government and representing the society. So media, some countries, media pretty weak, or being controlled, like China. Recently, what happened in China, do you know, Ms. Zhang? There was someone asking about, I think, a party secretary from Henan about a case, and he just refused to answer and caused a lot of trouble. A lot of journalists said, this is wrong. You cannot, do this to the media. So media having a power of check and balance against the government. Interest group as well. What else outside the government? Song Ziqi. Yeah. Now, for example, how about recently we have this capital punishment? 在首都来什么惩罚？有这样子吗？这什么意思 ？Capital punishment， 死刑。Okay, thank you. So, now we have different voices, right? We have interest groups. Okay, here the interest group might be someone who's very humanitarian, or someone who are representing the victims, or we also have media being very much involved. But what other groups might be talking about this? Capital punishment that will affect government's policy. Students from NTHU. The government said we're going to abolish capital punishment because a group of students from NTHU, right, object to this idea. Okay, social activists, or we call advocacy groups. That's also NGO. How about this? Non-governmental organizations, right? Any others non-governmental organization that is powerful? Because they are not very powerful in Taiwan. I don't think that's the reason we do not know the influence in other third world countries. Religious groups, church. Okay, first of all, in Taiwan, we do have very powerful, influential groups like Tzu Ji, like Fo Guangshan, but I don't think they touch politics. I don't think they come out to say a lot about, political decisions. So they are not. But in other countries, for example, in Latin America, okay, the Catholic bishop, very influential. South Africa, apartheid government. What is apartheid government? 谢孟涵不在，黄伟文。哦，谢孟涵。Okay. What is apartheid? Apart. 种族隔离 set you apart. Saying, hey, your color skin is different from ours. So we cannot, you cannot live in this area. Apartheid in South Africa was condemned by the Bishop Desmond Tutu. Today we only have a lot of Tutu. What is Tutu? Tutu 是跳芭蕾舞那个小裙子。It's little skirts for the ballet. Tutu. But do you know, Ms. Xie, Tutu? Have you heard of Tutu? 图图大主教有听过吗？不是穿小裙子的 ，OK？ But hey, when he says something, everybody has to listen. Okay? Latin America, like El Salvador, if the bishop come out to condemn the ruling elite, that's powerful. Africa, some president want to serve more than 2 terms. The religious groups say, no, thou shalt not do that. They say, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so religious group, very powerful. Also in Asia, another third world country, the Catholic bishop. But I don't know why his last name is like sin. Oh, I committed sin. 他的名字叫罪 sin. Which country? The one we should know more about it. Here. What is this country? The Philippines. Okay? Philippines, there was a dictator one time called Marcos, Ferdinand Marcos. You might not know him, but you should know his wife, because his wife has 3,000 pairs of shoes. I think my wife should work for her, because when she has all these new shoes, she needs someone to break in the shoes for her. 要把它先穿一下嘛，新鞋不是会痛吗？要人先去 break in， 中文叫什么 ？break in。这样车子要试开一段，鞋子要试穿一下，走起来才会舒服。全新鞋子第一次出去会有起泡的哦。那个试穿鞋的好过瘾啊 ！Don't you think 3,000 pair of shoes for her to break in? Okay. Now, cardinal sin also very much against the dictatorship of. So religious leader in Latin America, way back they also have we call the liberation theology. What do we mean by liberation theology? Which is very important, liberation theology. 尹静薇 Yeah. You understand liberation? Have you been liberated? Okay. 下次一个女孩子说我要来解放你。I've been liberated. Okay. 我已经被解放了。Okay. What do you mean by 解放神学? What does that mean? What is liberation theology? Now, every communist or Marxist guerrilla group in Latin America is called L, liberation. They want to liberate. Liberate what? Guerrilla groups, like rebel groups. Hey, China, remember PLA, I'm sorry, PLA, what is PLA? People's Liberation Army. 中国人民解放军，他们解放什么？ What are they liberating? 解放下层阶级 From what? From what? I mean, you are liberated, but liberated from what? You said, I've been liberated from my Spartan father, 我的斯巴达的爸爸管教太严 right? That's liberation. But China's liberation army, what are they liberating people? Saying, okay, you said lower class people. From what? From poverty? Okay, that's true. They've been, bothered by poverty, or they are being liberated by the domination of the landlord, right? So you're liberated. So the same thing here in Latin America. When they talk about liberation theology, they say, don't tell me that I need to believe in God, right? Please feed me first. I'm hungry. He said, believe in God, God will provide. And the church said, close the door, said, bye-bye, sinners. So liberation theology in Latin America is because a lot of the church clergies, church people said, no, we need to care about people's real livelihood first. Then they will think about the spiritual world. You have to provide them with the material thing first. So that's liberation theology. Again, that's from the church. Very critical of this government or political elite enjoying their own little enclave. 他们这些 enclave 都很什么？自己的一小块小圈圈 ，OK， but not helping the other, the mass, 大众，普罗大众。So here, this liberation theology, because you have a very powerful church. Now, where else do we find, in addition to the third world, in Latin America, in Philippines, when you have this bishop, very powerful, right? 主教, archbishop, 总主教. What other kind of religion you have very powerful clergy group? Dalai, but Dalai is a little bit different. Why? Because I think Tibetan itself is a theocracy. It's mixed. The religious leader are also the political elite. Okay, so that society is a little bit different. What else? Islam, Islamic society, right? The religious leader, when they said no, you cannot do anything. So those are very powerful leaders, will affect a lot of things. But in Taiwan, our religious leader are very humble, too humble. They are not very outspoken. Okay, but you can also say they took care of their good name, so they don't come out to say something or condemn something. Okay? If one day they came out and said, "No, President, you are wrong," I think the president is over. Okay, so but they haven't used that yet. So that's we call a civil society. Religious group, NGOs, media, interest group, all these are civil society. In most of the third world country, the civil society are not very well developed. Latin America might be an exception. Okay, Latin America, not just the church is powerful. Also, they have a tradition. How many of you have seen the movie Evita? 中文叫什么 Evita? Don't cry for me, Argentina. 阿根廷，别再为我哭泣。Okay, now, Eva Perón. Okay, the lady, the first lady of the President Perón, Juan Perón, J-U-A-N, Perón. Today, you go to Argentina, you still have people who call themselves Peronist. 培仁派，培仁者。Now, what does that mean? Latin America traditionally have very strong labor groups. And Perón and Evita, they are, we call the advocates for workers. So Latin America, labor unions also very strong. Now, in most of the African countries, you don't find labor groups at all. They are not well organized, except one country called South Africa. South Africa labor group, very well organized, but also hurt themselves because they want to demand for higher wages, and the government, although it has communist roots, but are not taking care of them. The government is so much into the core value now. It's part of the the Western dominance now. They are so people say they are pragmatic. They are not becoming very doctrinaire. Means 教条了，不是很教条，南非政府。Okay, but which means that they are not taking care of the workers. So South African workers also against Zulu this time. No, I'm sorry, Zuma this time, because of his polygamy and also all kinds of extramarital affairs. But outside it, where do we find other countries in Asia? The labor union might be considered to be strong. Taiwan? How about our labor union? I think we have a new word for that word right now. Docility, docile. What does that mean? Docile. 打手不是打手。孙敏伦。Yeah, what is docile? Docile?
Want to fight with the government and
Yeah, so means they are easily controlled. Okay. Labor union in Taiwan, for example, said, "Oh, we don't like the working condition." The company said, "Okay, next week we're going to have a banquet at Grand Hotel." Oh, yeah, I'm happy. Okay, I'm not going to protest. 就到圆山去吃一个包肥buffet so everybody's happy, right? Or you said, "Hey, extra hours of work, I need to pay more, double my salary, right? For extra work, for overtime, we call overtime. Overtime 什么？不是啦，进入延长时间吗？比赛没有一样，超时工作了呀。Okay, overtime. Overtime you have to pay more, not just if it's let's say $150 an hour. Overtime you have to pay maybe $300 or $250. But the boss said, "Hey, either you want it or not. If you don't like it, you don't have to come back tomorrow." Ooh, docile, no protest. That's what we call in Taiwan. I think our labor union either being controlled by the government, and government will help you set up union. Don't ever trust those. Okay, and you have to set the union up yourself. Okay, so Taiwan is not a good example. What's the country that in Asia that has pretty good union? 闵理园. Yeah, which other country? Japan? I don't think so. Philippines, Thailand, but Thailand that's Red Army, Yellow Army. That's not union. Which country? Our nemesis. 我们的世仇啊 South Korea. South Korea's union so strong, right? 白布条一绑就上街了 right? Even their housewife, 他们的大婶也很强 Okay. Now, in addition to that, South South Korea also has another group. In Taiwan, we have that group representing our society for a while, but no longer very powerful. You, the students. The students used to be, in the process of democratization in Taiwan, play a very important role. Nowadays, I think the students pretty much we call house kept. 宅男宅女. They don't go out, right? So no, don't do protests. And Taiwan's weather is not good for protests. I think today will be a good day for protests. Maybe a little bit warm. Korean students always protest in June. Why? Because they're going to have final exam. So they find an issue to protest so they don't have to take the final. Okay, and then the professor said, hey, good job, right? Protesting the government. Okay, so Korean students still very powerful, and I think it's almost part of the culture that before you graduate and go to the military, you have to do protest so that you experience your college life. As a student, you have to go through protest because afterward, what do? You became part of the national military, and you are going to, use the tear gas to drive away the protesting students. 然后你就去当兵，开始你来挡这些学生你先是你当学生来退他们，然后就是你去当党的。And then you work for the multinational company. You say, I'm fine. Okay. So Korean, every stage they play a different role, but that's also a very strong. What other country students when they protest in Europe, not in third world, France, also in May, final weeks. So schedule your date this semester, like June 15, right? That would be the week for you to find some cause to protest, so you can organize. So student is also a very important group as well. In certain countries they do. Okay, in China one time they did, but then being crushed. Okay, so those are the civil societies. And now, in addition to the Latin American civil society, we do have a problem with the civil society of the Middle East, which is not very strong at all. Even, first of all, you don't have the religious group is part of the state, supporting the state, and then you don't have a lot of interest group, non-governmental organization, or even the students are pretty tame now. Earlier we have, like in Iran, the Iranian students are very important, but not anymore. So we have some people will say, the state and society, either is Taiwan's society have been penetrated by the state, like earlier I mentioned, labor union, are not very strong, are organized by the government sometimes, or the student government's leader are being appointed or recommended by the political party. That will be penetration by the state. Or can we say that our government has been penetrated by our society? So we don't need to outside some forces outside the government or the state to influence the policy because they are already in there. Okay, so that's another question we can ask. Remember we talked about the autonomy of the state and the capacity last week. And this insulation, autonomy, this insulation, which country the state is more to be considered to be insulated from the society and autonomous now. Let's try Wu Jiaru. Yeah, which country right now you would say, hey, the government, they decide what they want to do, and the society cannot affect or change the government's policy. They are autonomous, 自主. They're not going to be influenced at all. China. Don't you think China, most of the time, they decide what they want? And, even though you have some groups are concerned with Google or with other things. And recently, China's government officials said, hey, don't expect us to be like Western democracy. Don't talk to us about that. We're totally different. So China has China's system, West has West system. We don't like Google. We don't like song in the valley. 谷歌, 是这样子吧? They don't like the song in the valley. But anyway, so China has a way of doing things. Now, Obama's government yesterday passed the health care. Now, in the end, he was forced to compromise, saying, oh, the money from the government will not be used to do what? To cover abortion. Okay, why? Except in the cases we call incest, 乱伦, rape, or the mother's life is in danger, then you can have it. But otherwise, if you just, careless and becoming pregnant, the government will not pay for your abortion. This represents the anti-abortion group being so strong, they lobby, and then the government has to take that into consideration. So you have penetration of social groups, non-governmental groups, civil society into the government. So the government make decisions we call to accommodate, 来包容, that kind of policy. But China, I'm not sure. Does China's government listen to the people at all? Probably not. I mean, maybe they do, but they would never tell you, right? And so we don't know, okay? So that's very autonomous, but also very strong. Okay, some third world countries, the government is not penetrated by the civil society, but still it's pretty weak. Okay. So here, China, very much like Latin America for one time, we have we call oligarchy, the few elites. They don't want the populace, they don't want the mass people to be involved. Okay. Today, for example, in Taiwan, I think we have a negative term when we say populism, 民粹. Okay, 民粹. But because some of the elite think they know better, that's what I call elitism. People think, oh, you don't understand. We know better than you. You just listen to us. You cannot even question the government elite leaders. The third world, especially Latin America, in the 1970s, they experienced military coup. Why? Because like people like Perón, they try to appeal to the working class. I will take care of you, all this. And then if the wages goes up, which means the foreign investor will not come to invest because your wage is too high. So what they did is the military and the government bureaucrats and the capitalists, they try to suppress the working class. And by overthrowing the government through a military coup and then say, okay, we're going to control the wages and everything and restore order. You cannot have strikes. You understand strikes today? 好球不是 strikes 嘛 罢工啊，不能随便罢工 ，right? Interrupting the production. So third, bureaucratic we call in Latin America you have a BA regime, BA, bureaucratic authoritarianism being developed. 威权官僚 bureaucratic authoritarian. This is what dependency people like it the most, saying, look, because the first world do not want to see the periphery of the periphery to become strong. So they work with what? The core of the periphery, right? To suppress the periphery of the periphery. Do you want to repeat that? The core of the core and the core of the periphery work together against the periphery of the core and the periphery of the periphery. Okay, remember that. Okay, see you next week.